Blog Talk Radio.
We begin with heartbreaking news from the racing world about a member of one of the legendary families in auto sports.
Today, John Andretti lost his very public and hard-fought battle against colon cancer.
John was a racing veteran, a champion of sick children, and known as one of the nicest guys in the sport. Right now, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is paying tribute to John, lighting up the scoring pylon in his honor. It's a place he knew so well and raced many times. Sports director Dave First is here with more. Dave.
Hi, guys. Good evening. A racer at heart, a father, son, husband, dad, you name it, one of the most giving people you'll ever meet. The sports world is mourning the loss of Indy's own John Andretti tonight, who died today after a 3-year battle with colon cancer. You ask him, John Andretti, he was an IndyCar racer. Like his father Aldo, his uncle Mario. He competed in 12 Indy 500s. Nothing beat the years of 91 and 92 when he competed against Mario and cousins Michael and Jeff. His most success in racing really came in stock cars. First career win came at the July race out at Daytona, winning for the legendary Cale Yarborough, and later won for Richard Petty in Martinsville. But once his career on the track started slowing down, his career off it was picking up with something called Race for Riley. Last summer, he finished his 23rd event with money going for Riley Hospital for Children. But it was 3 years ago when he was first diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Devastating news that affected, of course, his entire family. We sat down with him that following May. Is this more difficult to watch in your family than it is for you to deal with this?
It's way harder to watch because it's unfair to them. I've said it several times. It's unfair to them that I'm even in this condition because this could have been prevented. You can sit and mope and do all the things you want to do that you think that you would expect it to. None of that's happened to me. I mean, and a lot of it's because of my family around me. They just, you know, if you do, you're losing, and nobody in his family wants to lose.
A shot there of his family, wife Nancy, son Jarrett, daughters Olivia and Amelia. Our thoughts are with them tonight. Coming up all new at 6, a deeper look into John's remarkable life and career. John Andretti was 56.
And welcome to The Balance. There's a little bit different show today that we have. My name is Tom Marquisel, Presidente. We're excited. We're here. We're ready to go. But today's show is with somber remembrance. We remember John Andretti and Kobe Bryant. John Andretti losing his battle to colon cancer. Also, Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest to ever play the game, tragically lost his life in a helicopter crash outside of Los Angeles, California. So we're going to get into that more into the next hour. But joining us now is Matthew Embury, WSBT up in South Bend. A lot of news going on in the IndyCar world. Of course, the retirement of Tony Kanaan announcement. He's going to run 5 races to include the Indianapolis 500. But let's take a moment, Matthew, and let's talk about John Andretti and the impact that he had. What a lot of people don't realize, the impact that John had on the sport was more off the track than on the track. Certainly, he has the Andretti name and the Andretti pedigree, but kind of took a little bit of a different path. But John Andretti, dead at the age of 56, Matt.
Yeah, obviously, on the other side of the coin, of course, he was the son of Mario Andretti's twin brother, Aldo Andretti. Still a part of the family, but did most of his living in Indianapolis as opposed to Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Started his career in sports car racing in the mid-'80s with Jim Busby, then eventually made his move to IndyCar, was with the Porsche program for 1990, then joined Jim Hall in 91. They won the opener in Australia in their first ever race, and were there through the 92 season, then lost his ride in 93. And went to Jack Clark, the former Boston Red Sox and San Diego Padres Top Fuel dragster team. First race there at Atlanta, he made the semifinals in the Taco Bell Express Top Fueler. And then made his move to NASCAR thanks to Billy Hagan. One of the last things Billy Hagan did as an owner, his team, I think, went defunct during the mid part of the season. He joined Petty Enterprises, eventually Credifus Haas, Cale Yarborough, again with Petty. And we had multiple rides since then, and also had a few other opportunities at the Indy 500, and famously even getting Roth Racing into the field 1 year for a two-car entry, last time that Marty Roth's team was at Indy in 2008. And unfortunately, the stage 4 diagnosis had a lot of charity things going on for Riley Hospital for children, and unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end. And unfortunately, just the colon cancer proved to be too much for John, and we lost him this past week.
Yeah, and his son is continuing the drive, if you will, no pun intended, for the race for Riley. We heard last summer that the cancer had returned with John Andretti, and I would encourage everyone to check out Race for Riley. Follow the hashtag that we've got up on social media, and get involved with John Andretti's cause, Race for Riley, his go-kart, big go-kart race that he has every year out in Newcastle, my hometown. Sidebar there, but out at Newcastle track there, and just a great man of the sport. I had an opportunity to talk with him a few times, and he was just a very humble man, I mean, you would think with a guy with a name like Andretti that there comes a certain bit of arrogance about it, but which is that way with some members of that family. We don't want to get into that today. But John Andretti, and a lot of us remember him more. I think more of us remember him in the NASCAR races than the kart races. As they mentioned in our clip there, I think it's WRTV here in Indianapolis for allowing us to use that. But in the clip there, they talked about the kart races. I think a lot of us remember John Andretti as the Cheerio guy. He drove the Cheerio car, and he was very, very good on the track. And as you mentioned, the son of Mario's, and we're going to listen to Mario talk about John here in the next half hour with Steve Wilson for Speedway Digest. But it was, he was really, I just like to think of John as somebody off the track that had more wins off the track with his Race to Riley. And let's take this time just to say, hey, I'm a dude. I had a colonoscopy last year, and it's not the funnest thing in the world, but it certainly is a must thing that you should do. So every guy out there, and we have a lot, obviously with the type of show that we have a lot of male audience, our male demographic. So go out there and get that colonoscopy. It's a simple procedure. It'll be done and over with. Get a day off work, and you get some cleansing done too. So go do that, because as he mentioned in that clip there, you know, it could have been caught, and so certainly take that time to do that, and we'll get some information about colonoscopy up on our social media as well, Matthew. But other big news happening here in the IndyCar world. One of the biggest announcements of the week, if you will. It's been kind of a hard week with Kobe and John and a lot of other stuff going on, but we don't want to lose sight of the fact that one of the greatest fan favorites, we'll put it that way, certainly Tony Kanaan announces that his time has come. He's going to run 5 races in 2020, and then after that he's going to hang it up. One of those races is obviously going to be the Indianapolis 500. But let's talk a little bit about the career of Tony Kanaan and his retirement. And we see it all the time. Of course, we like to feel like we could always beat Father Time, but we can't. And we always and we're seeing it in NASCAR with Jimmy Johnson. Just big names are just saying, "Hey, it's my time to draw a pension." Tony Kanaan announces his retirement this week, Matthew.
Well, I think it's no surprise in my opinion. I mean, you look at the records over the last 3 seasons that TK has had, and besides the ovals, he has just been mid-pack, back of the pack at best on the road courses. I think that's why he's doing the ovals only to close out, so at least he has a fair chance to get good results to close out the year, similar to the third place he had at Gateway this past 2019 season. But beyond that, he just has not been competitive on the road courses. Did not even have a single top 10 road course finish in 2019. Based on the record on Wikipedia, I see his best road course finish last year was at Austin and at Portland, where he finished 12th. So I don't think he wants to go out that way. I think he wants to go on a positive note, and at least he's given himself a fair shake in that 14 entry to get some good results, even though it's only going to be in 5 races in 2020. He's had an outstanding career. He's won the Indy 500. He's won a series title. But the fact of the matter is he's just with the team in Foyt that just is not going to be able to provide him a car competitive enough to be a consistent contender for victory. It's not for lack of trying from the Foyt camp. It's just they don't have the resources of, say, a Team Penske, a Ganassi, and Andretti, or even a McLaren or a Coyne. That's why they languish at the back of the pack, regardless of who they have as far as their driver lineup.
Yeah, Tony Kanaan, I tell you what, let's talk a little bit about his career. I like Tony. I'll tell you a funny story about Tony Kanaan here real quickly. Of course, us people in the media, we chase race cars, we chase drivers, and anytime we get a chance to talk with drivers, we do. And Matthew, you've been out on the track with me before. I try to talk to as many drivers as I can. But this happened in Iowa, actually. I was up there, and I said I wanted to talk. He was having kind of a rough day with practice and stuff, but I just happened to be right there as he got out of the car and getting out of his pit box, and just kind of wanted to get away from the scene. But I just happened to be there. I said, "Hey, Tony, can I grab you for a few seconds?" He's like, "You know how to talk to me? Go to my PR person." He was kind of snippish and snarky. I was like, "Okay." She handed me her card. I had already met her. I texted her. I said, "Hey, I'd like to have some time." She was like, "That's okay, no worries. I'll make it happen." So the next day, I'm walking past the haulers, and he's standing out there. He's getting ready to do an interview with ESPN, and he goes, "Hold on," and he put ESPN on hold. And he says, "Hey, I'm sorry. Yesterday, I was a little bit out of my element. Here, what can I do for you?" So he did talk to me, but that's a funny. Or maybe not funny, but that's kind of a story that I have about Tony Kanaan. Because Tony Kanaan, that's why he was a fan favorite, because he was very, very approachable. He was very humble in what he did. Let's talk a little bit about the career of Tony Kanaan and the accomplishments of the racer, as we know as TK.
And that's part of the reason why I wasn't able to get him for any interviews when I was in the media room, because he was the popular guy. I was able to get, guys like Karam and Carpenter and Ray Hall and all of them on the street. And, yeah, I mean, it's not from lack of inability. It's just everybody wants to talk to TK because he is the man. And even if, despite the fact he's not being competitive, Indianapolis, he is still the man, and that's why he is the center of attention. And I think even though retirement's on the tag, I would not be surprised if over the next few seasons we see him in multiple Indy-only rides as long as he is still in the mood to compete at the Indianapolis 500. I think it's going to be mainly retirement, but I do not expect that he will be shut out of the Indy 500 for at least the next several years. I think he still will have at least an Indy-only ride over the next few years.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I've told to a few other people offline. I've said, he'll probably go into some consulting roles that maybe a lot like what we've seen with Elio. Obviously, Elio's not officially announced his retirement, but more maybe like, well, Dario's not been back in the car, but kind of a consultant role like Dario and an appearance in a car like Elio Castroneves. Tony, and I think, I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one, but when you think about Tony Kanaan, obviously he was with Foyt Racing. He was with a lot of race teams over the years. And talking about Elio, him and Elio were childhood friends. And I believe they even came from the same town and raced in the same go-kart circuit. Came up from the same world, Elio and Tony. But I just, you relate IndyCar